Good morning. It's Coffee with Shanda, and it's actually Coffee with Shanda and Jessica this morning.
Yeah.
So I am excited about this interview because Jessica's actually been on before, and she's become a friend, and she's also a client of ours. And I met her at the Zone event. What was it? A year ago?
It was 2 years ago at the Zone event.
2 years ago. 2 years ago at the Zone event, and I remember meeting you after the Zone event when it was all over, and we took a picture together in Palm Springs, which is where it is this year. Um, and I just remember feeling like, this girl, she rocks. She's going to rock it. And there was something about you. And now I know what that is. And we're going to talk about that because a lot of people have big dreams, but they can't consistently keep themselves in the game. Like they can't consistently create the results. And you've been able to create them in your relationship. You've been able to create them in your family. You've been able to create them in your business. And you've been able to also create them in your physical fitness. And so I want to talk about all of that because those are all really important pieces that everybody wants in some level in their life. But before we do that, I want to share something that you and I were talking about behind closed doors before we turned on the camera. We were talking about when we both started, or at least when I first started, that I just wanted to make $5,000 a month and I thought if I could just make $5,000 a month for the rest of my life, all about me. But still, it was like how short-sighted my vision was. And I believe that God only gives us what we can handle because I don't think I could have handled a big vision at that point in my life.
Yeah.
But it was like, if I could just make $5,000 a month for the rest of my life, I feel like I would be mentally peaceful and feel really free, And then you were sharing with me a moment in your life how you had to really get the fight out, the fight. And let's just share a moment about that, where that came from.
Well, first, because you mentioned the Zone event, if I can just tie this piece in, the moment when I was sitting at the Zone event, this was 2 Zone events ago, and I had no idea what I was coming to, but someone that I met online, I had just started my online business, and Sasha Sterling, who I met online doing the online show, I asked her, wow, what are you doing? I'm just starting an online business. And she told me about you. And I said, okay, I'm there. And I remember a moment where you shared, well, first, you were doing your thing and delivering amazing content. And you were so powerful, so strong. I just resonated with you. And then there was a moment where you dropped into this vulnerable story that you shared about your stepdad and you as a child, and it was an abuse story. And it was in that moment that I just realized, like, wow, there's so much beauty in being vulnerable and being honest like that and sharing that. And at that point in my life, I was like, I could never share. I don't think I could have ever shared, all of the pain and darkness. Yeah, me, And it was almost like in that moment, it gave me permission. It started to plant the seed to really connect with people. I've really got to let them see me. So there was that just vulnerable moment that you shared so gracefully. And I think that's important because it gives people like me and other people who are watching, it gives you that permission that you can be strong and vulnerable at the same time. And that's something, we were just talking about before we went live about our own stories. You shared something and I said, wow, I had a similar experience. When I was growing up, I grew up in poor neighborhoods, lots of drugs, lots of violence. And there was a lot of fighting, a lot of unhappy people, adults, and of course, children as a result. And, one of the things that happened to me is my mother, who was very loving, but believed that in order for me to survive in the neighborhood that we survived in, she needed to really make me tough. Mm-hmm. And so I remember one of the first moments, I was 11 years old, and there were 5 girls that came to beat me up, when they were standing outside. And my mother forced me outside and locked the door and said, you're going to go out and fight, and you're going to, they're never going to leave you alone if you don't fight. And honestly, that's what she really believed. She wasn't trying to hurt me.
Well, what did that do? Like, as you kind of took that into like your life?
I mean, it affected everything. I mean, I just became someone who was a fighter and believed that that's really um, how I got my value, how I got my love,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because that's what people were proud of in my family, not the grades, not that I was excelling in school and that I was, writing books and, things like that. It was that I could go out and fight and I could, defend myself and I was not going to look weak.
Yeah. And it's funny because like the fight will get you to survival, but it won't get you thriving in
It
business.
won't.
You know what I mean? Like it's because you have to let go of control. You have to, you like, there's all these things that are super vulnerable as you grow a company and grow your life, grow a relationship. That
Yeah.
if you have those walls up, they'll just be like one wall after another. That no matter how hard you try, the intensity will never get you to where you want to be of that ultimate freedom and love, fitness, anything.
Well,
So,
yeah, because the mindset that I realized when I connected those dots of like what was going on and carrying into my adulthood was I had that feeling that I had to fight for everything. I had to be
yeah,
defensive. I had to protect myself. And I was just hitting a wall. You just
yeah,
hit a wall. And then it's exhausting. And I realized, I've got to change the way I think. I had to connect the dots with that is an adopted belief based on what the adults were dealing with in their life and how they were thinking. And I've just adopted that and continued to, manifest it. And I can
yeah.
shift that. And I teach people how to do that now.
Yeah, and I think what's also powerful, and we'll get into like how both of us actually do that, is like I have the same story. My stepdad
Mhm.
put me out. There was a girl that chased me home from school, and she had a lighter and hairspray, and she was going to blowtorch my hair off. And it was all because the most popular girl in school, I just moved to that school, the most popular girl in school, some boy that she liked me, and I didn't even know he liked me, and so she turned the whole crew against me like overnight. And this girl, Andrea, and all the girls chased me down the street to blowtorch my hair off. Well, the only person standing there to beat me up, because Andrea was Tara Herbert was her name. It was
Funny,
her
we never forget their
no,
names.
you don't forget their names. She was like, I mean, Andrea was her warrior, and so my
Yeah,
stepdad put me out in the front yard and was like, "These girls are never going to leave you alone unless you get out there and fight." And I remember this feeling of like a part of me shut down in that moment
yeah,
because it has to, because you have to survive at that point, and you realize that no one's going to protect you.
yeah,
You get what I'm saying? So nothing got better at school in the essence of the girls still hated me and I was still alone, right? But what, happened that moment is I learned how to turn off the brain, turn off the emotional feelings so I could focus and get it done. And
yeah,
that's what happens. You start to do that in hard times. You just turn it all off and get it done. But you never get out of struggle with that,
right.
right? So let's move into that conversation, because something like, let's talk about like why you picked up, like, you're growing your business, you really just started it like 2 years ago, this new business,
Year and a half. Yeah.
and a year and a half ago, this new business,
Hmm.
and you were able to do multiple six figures in the first year, less than a
Hmm.
year,
Yeah.
and it's like, and you, as you were growing into this year, you were like, okay, like, it's, we know it's a mental game. How do we open up more? How do we get more vulnerable? How do we get more connected to what it is that we want to create? And you do this really, really well. But why did you pick a fitness competition to do alongside of your business right now?
Well, truth be told, I was doing fitness competitions years ago. And at a certain point, so here's the truth. I set a goal to like, oh, I just want to challenge myself. I owned a fitness center at the time, and I kind of was neglecting my own fitness for a little bit while I was really growing. And I needed to challenge myself. I was like, whoa, I need something new to really up level and refocus. And so that's what I did. And I set the goal as I just want to be You know, I just want to do good enough to be in the top 5, which is like the coveted spot. But I never set my goal to like win. I never set my goal to go pro. And my coach at the time was like, you are so pro material. Like, you are going to turn pro this year if you just keep going. And so I made exactly what I said I wanted. I made it the top. I made the top 5. And then I was like, okay, see ya. Like, yeah. And so what happened is, in the last year and a half working with you, being in the community and growing my business, I realized it just was in the back of my head. There's that one goal that I never set higher. I did not, like, it was like my default. I just went to what I knew, honestly, I could do. Right? It was like that, just, so it was there. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go back. What would be possible if I go back and set that goal all the way? Like, who cares if I win or don't win? But what if I play to win? What if I play to turn pro? How is that going to then affect everything else that I'm doing in my life, in my business, in my marriage, as a mother, right? That's going to set me up to want to be the best in all of those categories. And it doesn't mean you're going for perfection, but it means, why not pursue the best?
For sure. And one of the things that, like, as we were coaching you and your company, it was like, I see the same thing. I look at you and I'm like, Jess, you got it. You got it. Like, let's go all the way. Let's go all the way. And you're like, well, it's that was that either or conversation. Like, so underneath, it's like underneath deeply.
Yes.
It's like, you looked at me and you're like, it's not even about 1 million, 2 million, 7 million for you. It's about who you become in the process.
That's right.
And you got it. Like, you literally got it. And you were like, let's go. Coach.
Totally. Took the chains off.
It's awesome, because you do good enough. You do good enough. I mean, you could live your whole life, and Jessica, you do good enough. You have an incredible marriage. I would say a 10 based on what I
sure. Yeah.
You are an incredible mom, right? And you have an incredible life where you guys, you know, go to the lake house for, you know, where it's like you rent places in different places of the world, and you take your family and you live this.
We have a great life.
You have a great life, and you were worried, if I give it my all and go pro, that I'm going to have to give up some of this stuff. And it was an either or conversation. It's either the family, either the lifestyle, or
if I grow my business, you know, that big, I'm going to have to give up this, that, and the other. And that was just a belief. And beliefs can be changed in an instant when you decide to look at it in a different perspective.
Let's talk about that for a second, because you teach this in a deep way. So what would be a question that maybe you'd propose? I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but a question that you'd propose to people who are watching right now to question some of their beliefs. Like, what would you say to them? They're going through life.
Yeah.
And they're feeling like they're putting in a lot of effort, whether they're getting the result or not getting the result. They're putting in effort. We're just going to talk to the driven people right now. Right.
So one question that you can ask yourself is, if there's a big goal that you have and you've been trying to pursue it, right, and it feels like an uphill battle, right? It just feels like you're not getting there. What you can ask yourself is, and just brain dump this, right? Just get a piece of paper and just brain dump it. Don't censor it. What are all my beliefs about this goal, right? What are all my beliefs about it? For instance, if you have a goal to be in a committed, loving relationship, to be married, to, you know, be with your soulmate, and that's been a struggle for you, right? You're constantly single or you're in bad relationships. What are all your beliefs about having that relationship? As you start to brain dump, you might find that your belief is all the good ones are taken, or, you know, men can't be trusted, etc. Like, all of your beliefs come out. Look at those beliefs and then ask yourself, where did they actually come from, right? So you're going to have to go deep. Where did they come from? Are they even my beliefs, right? You're kind of unpacking where these thoughts came from. And then ask yourself, how have they served me in the past? Because in some way they served you. It may be to protect you, right? And how is it serving you now? And how is it hurting you now? Right? And so how's it hurting you or preventing that goal? Right? So what you're thinking now may have helped you before. And if it's not working now, take that belief and look at, I have something called a 2-for-1 rule. If you believe that all the good ones are taken, that's one belief. You can come up with 2 beliefs to the contrary. Well, no, they're not, because, so-and-so just started dating someone incredible. And so if she can find someone, then I can find someone. And I know this person who, got married at 60 and, so you can find anything to the contrary of what you're currently believing, right? Like I'll just, look at you, for example. I say, well, wait a minute. Shanda has an incredible life. She's growing this multi-million-dollar company and she's this and so if she can do it, I can do it. I just haven't figured out how yet. So now I can make the decision to believe it, pursue it, and just find out, connect with the people and the resources that can help me discover how to do it.
Yeah, so let me talk about that piece for a second. So it's like connecting with the resources to create it. So like it's really critical for people to become resourceful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I believe like the piece that you were just talking about is so important, because even when you're talking, I was saying on Coffee with Shanda yesterday about suction cupping yourself to the belief on somebody else's belief as you kind of climb your way up.
I love that. The suction cupping yourself. That's great.
Because like I have done that naturally without knowing, like, you know what I mean? I've just done it naturally, where I've said, well, Sarah Blakey can have $1 billion company and have 5 kids and an amazing husband and still like be that, like have that level of workload, then so can I, right? She's the only one that I know that is doing it in a way that I respect.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And
so
it's like finding like people that are already doing it. When I was growing the company, I'd be like, I know, even if I couldn't think of somebody, I'd be like, I know somebody is doing this better than I'm doing this. Like somebody has to have figured this out. And so because I was always in the solution of that, even when I felt defeated, it still kept me going. But then let's get to the part of resourcefulness. How do you get yourself to take action? Because like you could show up, like you have a product called the Get Set Method, and it helps people get whatever they want. I mean, you manifest your husband in how many days?
My husband in exactly 2 days. I wrote about this. I teach it to people. And here's what's amazing about really mastering this method is that it becomes fun. It really becomes fun to declare a goal and then plug in the pieces and have it unfold. I mean, the action piece becomes fun because so many people, they're missing that. I teach this when I talk about law of attraction. The last 5 letters of law of attraction are action. People forget that piece. It's like action. You've got to take aligned action that supports what it is you say you want, right? So like,
just people know that.
I know they do. Yeah.
Down to it. They can't put the foot on the gas. It's like, I can't afford that coach, or like buyer's remorse getting into a product or a program, or like moving across the country to be with someone you love. Like, it's like all of a sudden it's like you're kind of like willpowering yourself up, and then your mind holds you.
It's because they're operating on the same belief and they're stuck on the problem. So when you can shift what they believe is possible, right? When you can shift that, and there's a whole process that we go through, and you can learn to look for the solution, right? So as soon as the problem presents, this is what you're talking about, being resourceful. It's learning how to come up with solutions that actually make sense and are practical. You know, a lot of times people, they get into this manifesting conversation like, it doesn't work. I said I'm manifesting, you know, I have this house on my vision board and I'm manifesting $1 million, and they don't even believe that's, as soon as they say they're manifesting it, they have this feeling like, so it's like, pull it back a little bit. Like you were saying, at first I just wanted to make 5,000.
Yeah.
Right? Like you've got to be talking about things that you want that actually feel possible for you. Because you can't trick the universe with your energy and your feeling and all of that. And so it's really about teaching people how to think in a certain way. It's really methodical.
It is methodical.
It's very methodical.
So the whole game of anything you want comes out of your thoughts. I really believe that. I think
Absolutely.
there's an alignment to God, but at the end of the day, God does not put desire. These desires came from somewhere. You were programmed with them when you came in. You have an anointing to create the result that you want on this planet. And at the end of the day, it's crazy. It's like you want a new car, and there's also there's actual brain science to this, how your brain will go out and seek what it is that you want. So it's like you want a new car, and then you see that new car everywhere, and then the color you want all the time.
Yes.
So we can do it when we're really in it. And so the question is can you become resourceful enough to take action? Because that's the deal of sealing the deal. And when you start to have faith and trust in that piece, and you actually execute when things show up in your space.
Right. The signs.
Yeah, it's like
the signs, the opportunities.
You expand everything instantly, like everything. Like every area of your life goes.
The connection that you just made, this is so important because you're always going to find proof for what it is you already believe. You're always going to find something to prove that, because that is how the mind works, right? Like when I'm doing anything, like I've competed in so many different athletic events, right? Not just bodybuilding, but for me, it always started with the visualization. I had to see myself crossing the finish line, right? I mean, that's proven. I mean, that's what we do as athletes. You create the reality.
And I want to share something like when Jessica's saying that, it's like, I have always been able to access the feeling, but I haven't been able to access like the complete visual. And I want to share this because I think sometimes people get blocked on this. They're like, oh, like I can't see it, I can't see it, I can't see it. And it is true when your mind can see it, but it's like you could feel it. So it's like, you can hack the system by just saying, like, what would it feel like if the man I wanted put his arms around me and like gave me a ring, or the woman that I wanted, that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, just accepted me for who I am. You know what I mean? And you just like
the feeling. This is why you've been so great at manifesting what you want, because you just said you've been able to hook into the feeling. That's really the purpose of the visualization, is so that you can feel it. I mean, anything that you read about quantum physics will tell you that you actually have to feel like you're experiencing it, because then your brain believes that this is a reality, right? So that is so key.
Which is why emotional triggers take people out of the game, and they can't figure out how to get through the emotional triggers of jealousy or fear, or like fear around money, or somebody will say something and you'll get angry or overwhelmed or frustrated. Like all of those pieces, those emotional triggers, they get you because the feeling is so strong, it takes you down the rabbit hole.
And guess what? The feeling, the emotion comes after the thought. The thought is always first, and then you have the feeling. And that's why it's so important to start with your thoughts. I mean, once you can master that, and I truly mean this, it's not a matter of what you think like a couple seconds here and there. It's about what you're thinking on a repetitive basis. Once you learn how to plug in and really manage that in any moment, I mean, your life just becomes fun. I mean, it becomes easy to do the hard things. It just truly does, no matter where you are now.
It's so true. So, Jess, do you have an Instagram handle or anything like that?
Yeah, I have an Instagram handle, Jessica Perez BB. So that's
your name up there. So you can see Jessica Perez BB right now if you want to find her on Instagram and connect with her and say hi to her, tell her that you got coffee with Shanda. We have to end this interview a week ago. Jess and I could dive so deep into the method.
We're just getting warmed up. I mean,
like where it's around business, like where like it's like someone who, like the fact that you were able to, do like just one of our formulas and be able to create multiple six figures like in a very short period of time, and now you're going to go off and do seven figures and still have an incredible life. I took off 5.5 months. I do take off 5.5 months a year which is almost half the year of
Amazing.
vacation time, flex time. You, I think you probably worked less than part-time and created that result. And so it is possible, like we are a stand for the fact that it really is possible for you to do it differently and grow a business that impacts the world. And it is my mission to wake entrepreneurs up to realize that, honestly, get to the Zone event that's coming up. When is the date?
Oh, I can't wait.
I know. I'm going to just tell everybody the date. September 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and the 25th morning. So 22nd to the 25th morning is going to be the Zone event. We're going to be in Palm Springs this year. So keep your eye open because we're going to be
saying yes to that opportunity when it popped up for me is why I'm here right now and why I have this multiple six-figure business going on 7 that I get to do and still have this incredible life and travel all over. It's because I showed up to your event.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the truth. Take the opportunities when God puts them in front of you.
Resourcefulness,
the solution.
All the way back to resourcefulness. So Jess, thanks for being here with us on Coffee with Shanda. I always
anytime
appreciate you gracing the screen and sharing with people your story, because it could take one word, one moment that changes a belief. And I'm hoping that happened for someone today. So
thank you, Shanda.
Coffee with Shanda. We'll see you tomorrow.
Love you. Love all of you.
Tomorrow we are going to do hot seating. So if you want to bring somebody who wants to get a question hot seated, please look up and help some other entrepreneur be on the stream tomorrow. You come, ask me questions, and I'll be hot seating from 7 a.m. to 7:20 a.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow.
Ooh, that's exciting.
All right, guys. God bless. See you soon. Bye.